everyone, welcome to a very special edition of Next Week's Life. Do not worry, Mike is here, but this week we're flipping the script. My name is Grant Lefebvre, I'm his producer, and today we are going to put Mike in the hot seat and get to know the man behind this podcast a little bit better, get his thoughts on the channel as we wrap up 23, and talk about the Executive Connections Summit, which is just around the corner in January. So I'm going to introduce Mike here. I want to hype him up a little bit because he's kind of taught me how to introduce people. I want to see if I can do him some justice here. So Mike's story. Mike Stramaglia has been a leader in organizations such as Ricoh, Konica, MWA, and others. Now at the helm of Stramaglia Consulting, he's a leader in the imaging and technology channel with over 45 years of experience. And today, you can find him right here on his podcast at the annual Executive Connections Summit and with his partner in crime, Mo, traveling the world. So Mike, welcome to Next Week's Life.
Wow, Grant, thank you. That was an awesome introduction. I really appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate this opportunity. I'm excited. And not only am I going to ask you hopefully some deep cuts because we know each other, but also get into some stuff that I've just always been curious about from your perspective. So I want to jump in and I want to start at the beginning. So Chicago, 1974, Mike Stramaglia is carrying a bag, quote unquote. What does it mean to carry a bag? And talk about how you got started in the channel.
Wow, 1974. Well, first of all, I'm glad we're doing this, Grant. I think this is going to be an awful lot of fun. So 1974, right out of the chute, you can ask me a hard question. So I actually started interviewing in 1972-3, right after my stint in the Navy. So I started interviewing with a number of companies, and frankly, one was Xerox, one was AB Dick. You can go back that far. 3M, and I ended up with 3M. So I started carrying a bag, selling copiers, downtown Chicago, Michigan Avenue, and it was a great experience. 3M taught me so much. They sent me up to Minneapolis, put me through all this video training and all these training techniques, and started selling up and down the street. My territory was Michigan Avenue, and I'll spare you the details, but a lot of tall buildings, a lot of people going up and down, and I had to track them down and sell a bunch of stuff.
Good. And I read somewhere too that the worst part of not having a successful demonstration was that you would have to lug whatever copier you carried all the way back down the stairs. Did that motivate you to sell better?
Oh my God, you did your homework.
I did.
Yes. So back in the day, and it's probably where I started my bad back music series from way back when, lifting these heavy copy machines, and they were big. And there was a Fernald Washington cart for all of the people that were way back then with me. We used to pick them up, bring them up and down the stairs. And yes, it absolutely motivated me because bringing that thing back down the stairs was painful, embarrassing, and frankly, I didn't like it at all. So I did everything I could to sell that thing right off the cart. And in large part, I was pretty successful at it.
Awesome. So what were some of the first lessons you took away? Like you said, you had your beat, you had your territory that you worked. What were some of the first things you learned?
That's a really great question. I think one of the first things I learned when I first started, they teach you, the fundamentals, and you have to make sure you get the KPIs and you get everything down and get the demo script down, and so it became very serious. It was a very serious part of the beginning of a career. And what I learned very quickly was don't be so serious. Just don't be so serious. Stick, basically to the vision, stick to basic script. Make sure you don't do anything really dumb, try and avoid those things. Don't talk too much. That's probably the biggest thing that I learned. Have fun with it. Don't overtalk it. Don't overthink it. Treat people like you want to be treated and build relationships, but don't talk too much. And fine tune your cue sense. Listen to what people are saying. Watch how they're saying it. Watch how they're reacting, and combine those two things, and usually you get a better outcome. It's like life.
Excellent. I love that. So I want to talk about because you place a big emphasis on mentorship, and then like not only being a mentor, but also being willing to be schooled, as you go throughout, your career and going throughout life. What was the first time you realized someone looked to you as a mentor? Like, was that realization, did that hit you at all? Or is that just something that came along naturally?
You're good. Um, that's a great question. I don't know. I'm not even. I'm not sure where that kicked in. I always felt in my personal life and professional life that the most important thing was really never to be full of yourself and never try to put a big footprint or impose your personality or your thoughts on people. You're better off listening, you're better off responding. I don't know that I actually ever had a moment where I realized, people are looking to me for, mentoring. And so I think it happens for me anyway over time. How you grow, both in age and skill sets and experience. And then as you start to get a little older and you see people coming in that are a little younger, they're looking for guidance. And so I think that kind of happens over time. And I would say probably it's connected, I think, to having children, at the same time. Your kids need guidance, they need wisdom, they need discipline, they need, someone to talk with. And I just apply that same thinking in business. Some people want more, some people want less. But mentoring is, I think it's a very serious gift, and one shouldn't really, one really should take it very seriously, I guess. But it's a fun thing to do when you know you're influencing some people's lives, and you want to make sure that you're taking that responsibility, quite seriously, because you could take them down the wrong path very easily, and you don't want to do that at all.
Mhm. Absolutely. So I want to talk some more about some people we know. I'm going to play a little bit of word association with you. So not all these people are your mentors, but I think we can agree anyone who's in and around the channel, these people are looked to that way. And I want to just say a name and you just tell me the first thing that comes to mind. So the first one, Mike Reardon.
Mike Reardon, talk about a mentor. He and I met very early in my career. He's brilliant. He's genuine. He is the real deal. He's got all the right principles in place, and he takes his role in life very seriously. He's influenced me from 40 years ago, and he still continues to do it. Even last year when he gave a presentation over at ECS, a brilliant, wonderful taskmaster who loves people and loves the challenge of being successful.
Excellent.
You want one? I can't give him one word.
Oh no, it doesn't have to be one word. You just say whatever comes to mind. We don't have to.
Okay.
I used to say I was also in the audience for that, and I was technically working that day, but I was barely looking at my camera because I was pretty caught up in it. So it was excellent. And speaking of some people we both know, Rick Bastinelli.
A brother. He and I have worked together for years, as partners, as colleagues in the industry. He is a wonderful human being, a big heart, big mind, big skill set, big ambition. He's respectful, ambitious, gracious, and he was probably going to get mad at me for saying this, but he is the best dressed, best looking guy in the industry, and I love him to death.
Yeah, no, he was on the show not too long ago, and he was looking sharp as always. So I love
Yep.
that. I got one more name, Hero.
Uh, Talk about a brother. So when I think of hero, I think of class. I think of integrity. I think of unbelievable, unlimited respect from him and for him. He taught me more about international business. He taught me more. He teaches me every day still about the Japanese culture and how we should apply it in our daily lives. He and I have discussed the Code of Bushido 100 different times. We've shared a lot of unbelievable experiences traveling back and forth to Japan and other parts of the world. He is rock solid, both as a business person, a human being, father, brother, son, and I call him Tomodachi. He calls me Tomodachi because he explained to me that that translates into brother. So he's my Tomodachi. He's my mentor, and I love him. He's a great guy, one of the best in the world.
I agree. I love Hero. And speaking of Hero, I'm going to put a twist on one of your signature questions, Mike. So if I were to ask Hero, what is it one thing that Mike does that drives you nuts? What would he tell me?
Ah, oh God, I think Hero would probably say a few things. Probably um, my he knows that my attention to detail is not so good. So I have good detail, possibilities, and certainly I'm fair at it because I've had some pretty big jobs. But I think he would say I have a difficult time translating vision into, activity. So I'm really good at vision, very, very good at strategy, and therefore I know my limitations. I get very waffly in the details, and he knows I lean on him for that, and probably too much. So I probably drive him crazy with that.
Yeah. No, I Hero is the best, absolutely. And being able to work with you and he on this project has just been a dream. So it's been awesome. I'm a huge fan of Hero myself. So um I have another question for you. You are wearing a special jacket today. Tell me about that.
I am. Well, I knew we were going to have a little role reversal, so I wanted to kind of spruce myself up a little bit for you. But it's also very meaningful. We do the ride for the Patriot Pack every year, and that vest is right back here, and it's got 100,000 miles on it. But this one's kind of special too because it is a rider vest, a formal rider vest, cut, and it has you can see maybe a sheriff's badge or policeman's badge on my chest. I got Navy patches and a very special badge that was given to me by a friend of mine who's a Scottsdale PD sergeant. So he's been a beautiful friend, and he he gave me this on one of the rides as we were leaving from Scottsdale. And when he gave it to me, I told him, I said, I feel like a 10-year-old again, a 10-year-old boy. You know how a 10-year-old boy gets something like this from a cop? Well, that's how I felt. And so I wore it today in his honor.
Getting a badge at any age is just awesome. Like it's
Yeah,
just a great feeling.
it is a great feeling.
All right. So I wanted to ask you also. So it's next week's life. You know, you're a huge Sinatra fan. I've become more of a Sinatra fan since getting onto this project. You've talked about how much your father loved Sinatra, Tony Bennett, talking about the classics. But I know you also like a lot of modern artists like Michael Bublé. What is it you think that makes music stand the test of time? Like why is it that we keep coming back to some of those classics? Like what's helped them hold up whereas so much other stuff is fallen out of memory?
Well, to me, music, and I thank my dad for that or for this, but to me, music is an essential part of life. It measures your age, it measures your attitude, it provides inspiration, it supports you in your good times and bad times. It'll lift you up or it'll make you a little melancholy. But every day, when I wake up, I pick a song, and that's my song of the day. So if I feel a little off, I'm gonna pick a song that's pretty up, right? And it could be Sinatra, it could be anybody, but it's gonna be up. It's gonna be something I need to listen to during the day. It gives you a rhythm in life, and a rhythm for your day. Both are connected. And I can't imagine any day that I've ever had, certainly the last 20 years, that I didn't apply that. So I think, to me, music is everything. It stimulates the brain, stimulates the heart, stimulates your body, stimulates you to get up and go exercise. It's part of your routine. And I feel bad for people who don't embrace that kind of thinking. That maybe aren't into music, and because I really do think it's the canvas of our life. It starts at an early age, and you continue to paint it. And as different vehicles or venues come in, Sinatra, Elvis. I mean, I had a blessing. I mean, I had music from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and whatever's going on right now. And each decade, it really is a measuring stick for life, for my life past, my life future. And I think for young folks like you, Grant, you're going to look back on this one day and think, yeah, you know what, that guy was right. You know, so to me, it really becomes an essential ingredient for personal and professional success.
Excellent. I love that, and yeah, I'm a huge fan of the old stuff. I love it. In fact, this Thanksgiving, I drove my granddad to our Thanksgiving dinner because he always used to take me for rides in the truck. And this time, I said, "Okay, all right, it's my turn to take you for a ride, old man." So we put on the '50s classics, and I drove him it was a great time. But just having that music there, like we didn't even really have it up loud or anything, but just having it on, like he was just, he was talking about the older times, and like I saw that connection with him. I was like, I know, like this is what he grew up with, and yeah, that so things have been connecting with me lately. That's kind of why that question came to mind. So I appreciate your very thoughtful answer there.
Well, you know what? I'm glad that you found that a very interesting part of the podcast that we've done in the past. So to influence you to do that with your grandfather or have some inspiration there, I'm very grateful that that happened. That makes me feel real good, Grant.
Thank you. It was fun, man. Let me tell you. But all right, let's get to some channel related questions now.
Okay.
So we are closing out 2023, and I want to get your thoughts on the channel. And specifically, we talk a lot about leadership on this podcast. I know you've asked before, are leaders born or are leaders made? But I want to talk about the bridging the generational gap. What are some things that young talent today need to learn from the leadership that's currently in place? And what are some things that maybe one thing that leaders today could take in from that young talent that they might need to do themselves?
Well, again, great question. And when I look at, I have a wonderful kind of catbird seat, over the last few years and certainly the last few decades. But the last couple of years have been really amazing to me. So I see big things happening for the industry. Number one, it's going to be different, can be totally different. And so we're all going to have to be open to the challenges that, come with different. But I see big things, and I think it's going to be great. This next generation is going to be incredible. It's going to tax, I think, some political things, meaning how to manage AI or ChatGPT, or there's going to be some moral questions that we're going to have to deal with that. So, from a top line, I think the vision and strategy is solid. What concerns me with the younger people, and to me now in my elderly state, everyone's younger. So, but when I think about the younger generation, the thing that I hope they never ever forget, and there are a few things actually. Number one, never dismiss the importance of relationships, people. You have to have good, sound relationships, whether it's in your personal life or in your professional life. The second thing is make the effort, do the work, do the work. Today, knocking on a keyboard and making contacts through LinkedIn, that's considered work, compared to the old days when you had to put a suit on, walk up and down Michigan Avenue and start knocking on doors. So it's easy to get lost in the mix between, doing the work, visiting face to face with people, building relationships. And that those to me are the biggest things because I think young people today are fabulous. I really do. I think they need the mentoring of people like myself or people that are older or people in their personal life. But I have been unbelievably impressed with the skill sets, the dedication that they have to doing the things that they enjoy doing. And I guess that's where it comes back around to do the work because sometimes you have to do things that aren't necessarily your first joy. And I think on the flip side, I think the older generations need to remember, like you asked me earlier, your mentors. You have to mentor. You have to watch. You have to listen. You can't dismiss. I hear it so often where oftentimes, older folks will sit and listen quizzically to a younger person because maybe we didn't understand the question or we don't understand the context, or maybe we just don't understand, outlook. It could be that simple. But I think the older folks need to remember we all have a major responsibility to help guide the future. And the future is you, people like you, Grant. So we have to invest. We have to invest our personal skills, we have to invest our time, and we have to invest our heart. If we can make that bridge where the younger people remember the older people have a lot of value and listen intently. And the older people need to remember, they don't remember. Younger people don't remember, nor do they care to remember, the depression. I mean, it doesn't work that way. So when you get the power of the world on your iPhone, that's a pretty powerful world to live in. So to me, the biggest bridge to gap is people to people, and just keep doing it, keep on doing it. But don't discount young people. I hear that all the time. Oh, young people do this or they don't do that. Well, they don't have to. They've got a computer. They can access anything in the free world. And so that's really the biggest thing, and the overarching thing, integrity. Live your life with, a high degree of integrity. Always take the high road, young or old. And good things will happen, especially for our industry going forward.
I like that. So another question about the industry. Way back, almost 3 years ago today, 2020, you wrote an article for the Imaging Channel, talked about "Welcome to the Renaissance." That was the title, arguing that the industry shouldn't be thought of as a phoenix rising from the ashes. It shouldn't be thought of as this dead thing that's being given life. It should be thought of as the Renaissance was, as something that's ready for an influx of new ideas. So that was kind of right in the middle of COVID, and now we're a couple years removed. Do you still feel that same way? What are your thoughts?
Yes, I do feel the same way. Although I think I think I wouldn't use the rising from the ashes metaphor, although it felt like that, when we were in the middle of COVID. But I do think that I was correct, if I could say, patting myself on the shoulder. The one thing I was really kind of happy with, kind of looking back on that article, was the fact that I really believe that monumental improvements in technology and processes and the way people work were around the corner. These things were going to be the result of all of the really, really bad lockdowns and all the things that happened to pretty much everyone in the world. And I look back on it and I look at today and I'm thinking, my God, I mean, look at the things that have actually grown out of, that kind of disruption. Whether it's chat, AI, you could count them forever. It's an infinite number of changes. The copier prints, A3, A4, IT services, security risks. How do you do your insurance for your security? How do you hire people? Where do you find them? How do you train them? Every single thing has been advanced in a very big way and for huge reasons, huge and positive reasons. And I see just a whole lot more of that coming. So I think I was right to say there's going to be a renaissance. Thankfully, we weren't burned to the ground. We didn't rise from the ashes, but we just rose. And I think we, as Americans and other people around the world, should be very, very proud of the fact that where we've come from too is incredible, and it's just going to become more incredible.
Mhm. I appreciate you saying that. And I noticed too that, a lot of all we could think of during that time was, well, we want to get back to what we were doing. And, there were people like you and there were people like Rob Johnson saying, no, what can we do next? Let's find a way to do this better. So is I guess kind of that positive mindset that you have, talk about that for a sec. Cause I love it's not just never say die. It's not it like just talk to me about how you kind of see the industry. And sometimes when people get cynical, like you're always the first person to advise against that. Has that always been the case, or is that something that's really just kind of been on your mind?
No, I think I've tried to be that way for most of my life, and of course, when you meet a lot of challenges, along the way, you're going to get even more committed to staying on the positive side and on the grateful side and on the servant leadership side. Again, don't take yourself too seriously. Bad things happen to good people. Bad things happen to all people. So you can't let it. You can't. It's like the Sinatra song. That's life. You know, and you got to pick yourself up and get back in the game. And I think the one thing that I would probably be overly dramatic or emphasize is that giving up is never part of my. It's just not in my DNA. I can't even imagine any scenario where I would give up. And that could be a curse and it could be an asset, right? But I think I'm tired of listening to drama. So the older I get, the less inclined I am to listen to someone who thinks they actually have a lot to say. And I don't believe I have a lot to say. I like interviewing, not being interviewed better, But I think at the end of the day, there's people who are a negative voice are doing themselves a disservice. They're doing the industry a disservice, and they're doing a disservice basically to humankind. It doesn't take a lot of intelligence to be negative. It doesn't take a lot of studying to recognize that someone has a problem or some company has a problem. It doesn't take any kind of wisdom, to point out negative, obvious things. And I reject that. You can see the same thing I can see. You can read the same articles. You can understand the same things that are in the news. It's up to us, to stay on the positive side of that. Find solutions, not point to the obvious. Find humor when it's easy to be negative. Find respect and elegance and grace when sometimes people think it's not worth the effort. So I think the older I get, I'm more committed to ensuring that young people believe this and the people that are my age stay on the high road with me.
And that kind of is a nice segue because I want to talk to you a little bit about ECS that we've got coming up. But before we get into talking about what's on tap, I just had a question I was curious about because I am not quite as good in front of crowds. I've not had nearly as much experience being a presenter, and I watched you for 3.5 days be on stage, and I didn't see you lose it. I didn't see anything crack. I didn't see smoke start coming out of your ears. Like you kept this together and you were on stage or directing people to the stage the entire time. So if you weren't talking, you were moving traffic. So how do you prepare for something like that? And how do you keep your cool and roll with the punches?
Well, first of all, thank you for saying that. That means that when things weren't very good, I hit it. So when mistakes were made, it didn't bother me. I think when you're doing things you love, and I just turned 73 years old, and I love this business more today than I did when I started. And so when you have a microphone and a stage, and more importantly, you're responsible to help other people who have the microphone and are giving presentations and meeting with people. My role is very simple, really. It's to make sure that the people who have entrusted me and the audience, with an opportunity to take that stage, I want to make sure it's easy for them. I want to make sure that they feel really, really good about the opportunity they have in front of them. I want to make sure that our team is supporting everybody and everything. And how do I prepare? If you talk to Patricia Ames, she probably would tell you I need to prepare more. But I have a vision. I know what I want to achieve, with ECS. And so when it's part of your heart, I don't. The only thing you need to be prepared for are the breakdowns. If a teleprompter breaks or microphones break or something like that. But I use keywords. So I know every presenter because I'm intimate with what they're going to do and who they are, and I understand their personality. So how do I prepare for that? I have made a concerted effort to make sure that I've built great relationships with people, like Mike Marusic, classic example. I know what he's going to say. I know his personality. I know how he's going to do it, and I can anticipate. but I prepare for him, to make sure that I'm not going to do anything that's going to disrupt what he's trying to do, as many others, connect wise as well. So anyway, how do I prepare? Probably not enough, but I think my enjoyment factor gives me optimism. So when I am on the stage, I will always fall back on the high road, right? Just stay optimistic, do the right thing for people, and it usually works out.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. And I know we talked about Mike Reardon, who tore the house down last year. This year, what do we got coming up? What kinds of things are on tap for ECS 24?
Well, this year, this is probably I'm more excited about this one than I've been in the past. I'm always excited. So Frank Kuko is going to be one of our keynote speakers from Impact Networking. He's going to crush it. I know him, and I know what he's going to be speaking about. You've got John Hay, same situation. He's going to be giving a little bit of a history as well as commentary about his view of the future. Two great people. Then you're going to have Mike Marusik, obviously CEO of Sharp. You're going to have Larry White, the CEO of Toshiba. And then we've got a whole host of other fascinating speakers and agenda items. Frank Malozzi is going to be talking about production, print, and so on. So this year, we're putting a little bit different spin on ECS. Last year, it was more on technology and new technology, and we helped Microsoft launch AI. This year, it's going to be more application of the things that we talked about the last year. Frank Kuko's got some great things he's going to be talking about, but so does ConnectWise. And when we start talking about hiring veterans, we have Overwatch and we have, Dakota Meyer, unbelievable guy with Own the Dash, Medal of Honor recipient, phenomenal human being. So it's going to be a little bit of inspiration, a lot of application, and then some new technology surprises that I don't want to leak out here.
Awesome. Well, we'll stay tuned for that. So that'll be coming up on January 14th through the 17th. And we'll have the link to sign up to that as well in the show notes if you want to learn more or reserve your spot. So, Mike, what advice would you have for the imaging channel? I know we've talked a lot about the future, but I know you always give people the opportunity at the end of a show to just give their thoughts and to leave the audience with some advice. Is there anything that comes to mind for you now?
Yeah, great question again. I'm glad you listened to,
I
to the
stole it from
interviews.
you. So
My advice to the channel is be imaginative, be curious, pursue new, get your butt in order. We've got a generational change, we've got financial changes, we've got technology generational change, we got everything changing pretty much everywhere, which is awesome and great. But the channel, in large part, needs to pursue more education, be bold in their thought and action, and frankly, just use that imagination that helped you guys and gals create these companies and into a huge success. So we're going to have 350 people at ECS. All of them, in large part, are great success stories. So continue to promote using your imagination, bold thinking, and get it done.
I love it. I love it. And there is another thing I need to ask you, contractually obligated to end the show by asking you, Mike Stramalio, what is your favorite Frank Sinatra song?
It is contractually, there is an obligation there. You're right. So obviously, I have an endless list of Frank Sinatra songs, but that I love, and Tony Bennett, and etc. But I think there are probably two songs that come to mind very quickly. One is a Sinatra song, which is "Send in the Clowns," which I think is just a a phenomenal tune, and the melody is great, and the lyrics are amazing. So it's a combination of phenomenal stories. I hate to use that word again, but it's a great story, and he puts it to music in a beautiful way. And the other one is on the Bennett side, and I could give you 100 of his too. But I like the one that says, "If I ruled the world." And so those two songs together um, are interesting contrasts. "Send in the Clowns" is a pretty metaphorically interesting lyric. and clearly, Tony Bennett, If I Ruled the World, because man, if I ruled the world, there'd be a few things I would do.
Would I get a sheriff's badge if you ruled the world, Mike?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much for letting me interview you and flip the script around. So, what did you think of today's show, Mike? Did you have fun?
Well, you taught me a lot. So yes, I think it was a great show. I'm honored actually and thrilled, to have this flip be you, because I think you're really terrific at it. And you really did teach me some things in tempo and thought process. So I think it's a great show. I think the audience is going to love it.
Thank you.
And to Kevin, Kevin Van Canal, thank you for letting Grant do this. Appreciate it. And
Mhm.
we'll see you all on January 14th at ECS.
All right. Take care, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thanks, Grant.